Hey guys and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can make your own interactive iPhone X profile page using InVision and Sketch. So let's get started. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let's get into it. So here I'm going to start off just with an iPhone X artboard. And the first thing I'm going to do is add in the iOS UI elements. So I'm going to start with the status bar first of all, which runs along the top of the page, which are provided to you via Sketch in the new Sketch 49 update. Next thing I'm going to add is just the home indicator on the bottom, which is unique for iPhone X. And all I want to do here is turn down the opacity to about 30 so it doesn't distract too much. I'm going to pop in a background that I had prepared earlier. You can choose to use whatever photo you might like. And this will form the basis of our page. Now we're just going to be adding in the card that will run along the bottom, that will expand and contract depending on what version you're on. So all I'm going to do is add a rectangle, make the radius 20, and run it along the bottom so that it looks like it's curved off the page slightly. And as for the height, at the moment I'm just going to make it roughly half the size of the box that I have there. Now I'm going to put in the name of the cafe. It's going to be a cafe profile page. So I'm going to use cabin font here today, which I'm quite liking at the moment. Just going to zoom in and make this a bit easier to see. I'll make that font size 30. And I'm going to align it with the top left hand corner. And then maybe let's just make it bold. And I'm going to push it out 20 to the right and 20 from the top of that box. I'm going to copy and paste that underneath and half the size of the font. And instead of changing the color, actually what I'm going to do here is just change the opacity from 100 to 50 so that it looks grey. And then I'm going to give it a description so it is cafe. And then I'm going to add a bullet point, which you can do via Option and 8 if you're on iOS, which you will need to be using Sketch. And then I'm just going to write 512 reviews. And I might actually just keep it bold so that it's consistent. Now I'm going to space this out about 5 pixels, and I want to add some stars in so that the user can get a visual representation of how many of these 512 reviews are actually been good or not. So just choose whatever yellow you want. I'm just playing around with the picker here to find something that will suit. And all I'm going to do is push that out 10 pixels and then copy and paste that and space it out about 14 pixels away from each other. 5 times over, and I actually might just add one more pixel to each. And all I'm going to do on the last one is make it grey to imply that this is a 4 out of 5 star cafe. Now I'm just going to check the alignment of that. That's looking good. And then just push the whole thing again 5 pixels out. And that will be the basis of the information that will display on the page at least. But I might just make that cafe a little bit darker, so you'll notice I dropped the opacity there to 30%, and I'm also going to make that grey star just a little bit lighter so it doesn't draw as much attention to it. So that's done. Now we're going to be putting in just a little icon that'll run along the top of the box that will point up, that will kind of insinuate to a user that they can press on it in order to make the rest of the box pop up. I'm just using an icon from the simple line icons kit, which you can get through the icon font plugin. And I've just made it an outline and changed up the width a little bit just to make it look a little nicer. And I'm just going to space these elements out a bit better, like so, and also drop the color on that click, that up arrow. So now I'm going to work on the buttons. You'll notice here that everything's spaced pretty closely together at the moment. I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm just going to get all the elements on the page and then worry about how the spacing is. So I'm going to add 2 rather large rectangles that are fully rounded on the radius and just make it a light blue. You can use whatever you want. And I'm going to add a label in here, again using cabin, but I'm going to change it to white and keep it bold and just make sure that alignment is on both horizontally and vertically. And that'll be our first button done. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to group those 2 elements and I'm going to copy and paste it so that they are exactly the same and space it out. Now what you're going to notice here is I'm just going to change this from follow to view menu But in order just to make sure that they are spaced out properly, really quickly here, you'll notice that when I horizontally align, they move a little bit. So all I'm going to do here is just space it out a few pixels so that it takes up exactly the right width of the screen so that I don't have to horizontally align it and notice it move. So now we've got all the elements, I'm going to push the arrow and the text up a little so that the button's got some breathing room from that home indicator down the bottom. I'd like to try and do about 20 pixels. So I'm going to push these two up so that they're not too close to the buttons. And I think that looks pretty good. Just going to dock the size of the font in those boxes a little bit. Because they're standing out so strong with that blue background, I don't think they need to be that big. And I think that'll form the base of our page. I'm just going to change the name of this to Profile Main. Because when we upload to InVision, we need to make sure that the two elements have different artboard names. So that'll be our main page. The only thing I'm quickly going to add in before I forget is a back arrow. So we won't actually use this in the click-through, but it is just to insinuate that this page, can be navigated away from by a user if they don't wish to press any of the buttons below. So I'm just going to use that icon font plugin again, make it 24 and put some shadows on it so that it stands out on this dark background. Like so. Now on the second artboard, this is going to be our overlay artboard. So I'm going to change the name of it to Profile Overlay. And here, because of the way that InVision works, we can essentially just keep all the elements that we have at the bottom. Because we want it to expand, I'm going to pop all these items into a group. And I'm just going to keep pushing up after I change the Y axis by about 515 pixels. That's about how tall I want it to be from the bottom. So there's that. We're going to flip the icon because the user now would want to press that to go down instead of up again. I'm going to delete the background, the back symbol, and the status bar. Because of how this InVision overlay works, essentially that part of the background will be transparent. We'll want to keep the background that's in our other artboard there. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to put the home indicator back over the top of that white bar so we can see it. And now for this profile page, I'm going to assume that the bakery has a bunch of sort of Instagram style photos that they might want to share to users that don't wish to follow or view the menu. So I'm just going to add a couple of boxes here. I'm going to form a 3x3 sort of grid. I'm just going to space them 20 pixels apart. I might even make it 25. And then I'm going to put these in a group. Put it 20 pixels from those icons. And then just copy and paste a few times over. So what I want to achieve here is that the last row of boxes hangs over the edge of the bottom of the phone, so that the user knows they can keep scrolling to view more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group everything here, and I've accidentally grouped it, and the rectangles have fallen underneath of the group, so I'm just going to place them back above, and then pop them down so that you can see the bottom of those rectangles hanging out over the edge of the phone. And I'm just going to play with the rest of the spacing so that it sits nicely. Now I do actually want to add photos into each of these rectangles, so I'm going to remove the border first of all, and then using the craft plugin, they've got a nice little Unsplash connector right here, and if I just press cafe and then photos, it's going to automatically pop all those in for us, which is going to save us a lot of time, which is awesome. And that's the basis of what we've got. So now we're going to get started on the InVision upload. If you haven't got the plugin already, I'll throw it in the link. Make sure you go and grab it. It's awesome and it's free for the first project. I'm just going to select iPhone X project here, and that's going to sync like so. And I've got this open. I just need to refresh it to see it come in. And if I press View Prototype, you'll notice our two screens are in there like so. So I'm going to start on the profile main page. You'll notice we've got the version 1, which is not expanded. I'm just going to hide the status bar here because if you had noticed along the top that it was already displayed via InVision. So that'll keep that from looking strange. I'm going to add a hotspot area on this up arrow. And instead of anything else, I'm going to click on Screen as Overlay. Now you'll notice there's a bunch of options here. All I'm going to do is choose Profile Overlay. and the transition is going to be from the bottom because we want the menu to come from the bottom. And when I press save, that should do it. I might just tweak the width of this slightly. And now if I go back to preview mode and I press it, boom, you'll notice nicely it looks like it expands. And in order for it to go back down again, we actually have to go physically to this page, and we're just going to add another hotspot area. And we don't need to do anything here except choose profile main. So I'm just going to select that, save, and then if I preview and press that, we'll be back here. And now you'll notice, voila, looking beautiful up and down. There's your profile interactive page done. If you like this video, don't forget to check me out on Twitter. Please subscribe, and until next time, thanks so much. Cheers.